Are you truly saving money when you list for sale by owner? In this video, I'm going to talk to you about that and two major hiccups that end up costing a lot of for sale by owners thousands of dollars. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is King Jerome. I'm a Wisconsin-based realtor and I love to help families and individuals like yourself sell your house without a realtor. So let's talk about the two biggest things when it comes to selling your home and if you're truly saving money. And I think that could be a loaded question because honestly, it depends. It depends on a few things. For example, what you're willing to pay for, what you're not willing to pay for, and if you count saving money, either you're saving money or you're saving your time. So if you're saving your money, you're probably using up a lot of your time. For example, a big reason a lot of people will use a realtor to list their home is because one, they don't have the time or the bandwidth to be available constantly for all these showings that are going to be happening, for all these people that want to come through to do open houses and things like that. A lot of people do not want to have to deal with all that. They just want it all to be on autopilot. Another reason, and we're not necessarily covering that in this video, that a lot of people use a realtor is because of the paperwork. So I'm actually going to show you something in the paperwork that a lot of times you might miss, and that this can end up costing a lot of money. So the first one I want to talk to you about is compensation to other agents. So let me start with this. What do we as realtors want out of any transaction? Yes, of course, we want to help everybody. We want to help you and any of our clients from where they currently are to where they want to be. But if we're being honest, what's in it for us? It's the money. We want to get paid. Just like anybody else and any other service, they want to get paid for the work that they do. So, about 80 to 90% of buyers, and this is according to, National Association of Realtors, 80 to 90% of buyers still use a realtor. So it's like saying, out of 10 people that come view your home, maybe 7 or 8 of them are going to have a realtor already. So that's why this first point is so important for you. When you list your house for sale by owner, something I like to tell a lot of people is that you need to come to terms before you even list it what you are willing to pay a buyer's agent for bringing you the buyer. What are you willing to pay them? Yes, there are situations where you can completely save on paying anybody commission if you're selling for sale by owner and then you find somebody else who's shopping without an agent. In that scenario, it should be pretty simple. You guys can take your paperwork and everything like that. You can have an attorney look it over. You could bring it to the title company. Honestly, the title company is able to handle a lot of stuff. And even for me as a realtor, the title company, whoever I work with, they tend to make the transactions so much smoother because they'll even find stuff maybe I missed, certain documentation that they need. And a lot of times they'll reach out directly to my buyer or to my seller, with other things that they need like insurance and things like that. Stuff that has nothing to do with me because I don't deal with insurance. I only deal with the physical sale of the home, presenting it, marketing it, things like that. So now, the compensation to the buyers. You have to, let me reverse a little bit. So a big misconception is that you still have to pay 6% whenever you're using a real estate agent, right? That's not necessarily the case. Now, it's all negotiable, but it doesn't mean that it's transparent either. So back in August of 2024, there was a giant lawsuit that involved the National Association of Realtors where they ended up paying out like $400 million because there was a lot of shady stuff that was going on with some realtors and the class they're representing, where they wanted to, I guess it was an attempt to make things more clear when it comes to commission and where the commission is coming from, and giving the seller the option if they want to or not want to pay the buyer's agent. Yes, this is optional now. However, it is also now illegal across the entire United States and even probably Canada as well, I would assume. I don't live in Canada though, but maybe some people in the comments who do live in Canada or other agents might know. We can no longer disclose anything regarding to compensation to realtors. So no chat, no written anything about commission, about any of that. That has to be negotiated or written into the offer, right? So in turn, what this can end up doing, I can, as a realtor, and some people do it, I can ask for more than 6%. I can ask my client for a certain amount, and then I can ask the seller to pay for the majority of mine and then some. For example, if I charge my buyer clients, let's say, just to keep math simple, 2% of whatever the purchase price is. Okay. Now, before you might be able to see, what our agreement was and the percentage and things like that. Now you can't. So, I can come to you for sale by owner, and I can request you, hey, if you just pay 4% of my commission, I'd be more than happy, to, get my buyer on this, so, and so forth. You're like, oh, okay, cool. It's not 6%, so I'm saving. But what you just ended up doing, you paid me double what I was charging my client. It's great for my client because now my client doesn't have to pay anything out of pocket because you're paying me. Right? So, as a matter of fact, I'm going to show you this on some paperwork. So, what I'm going to be showing you here, though, is, where's the record button for this? This is going to be a Wisconsin state paper. All right, here we go. So, as I'm searching through here, just don't worry about most of that. But I am going to, and this was an actual offer to purchase that I had. So I'm going to go down to the section that I'm referring to. Don't mind the quick scrolling. Here it is. I'm going to zoom in right here. Seller payment of compensation to buyer's firm. Seller agrees to pay buyer's firm the amount of, I put 2%, or I just put 2, towards the buyer's brokerage fees at closing. So pretty much what that means, it doesn't say you're paying the realtor directly, but you have to be careful with the wording a lot of times. Right? You have to be careful with the wording because things like that will get you hung up on things that you weren't expecting to get hung up on. So that's how people can end up losing thousands of dollars thinking that they're going to save money, right? Now, let me ask you this. What is 4% of 200,000, 300,000, 400,000, 500,000? If you're out on the West Coast in California, your homes might be like $900,000 on average. If you are here in the Midwest like I am, on average it might be $300,000. Either way, that is a lot of money that you are forking over for the amount of work that you're doing, right? Because you still got to be present for all these open houses to negotiate. You got to answer phone calls because a lot of times if you are doing that, we as realtors are going to be calling you and texting you, and expecting you to respond in a timely manner, but you also have a life, right? So things, it gets very difficult. I'm not trying to deter you from selling for sale by owner, because I absolutely think that every person should be able to sell their own home because that's their home, right? But I do want to also defend us in the whole thing that we do a lot more than just opening doors for people to come and check out a house, because it comes down to negotiation. It comes down, we have to be available to handle literally everything when it comes to this transaction to make sure everything goes smooth, whether that's reaching out to lenders. If there's a hiccup with something with the title company, we have to handle it because we want this thing to go through. Just as much as you guys want your home sold, we, at the end of the day, want to get paid. So we are going to make sure that things are working out well. So let's talk about number 2. The second one, and a lot of people miss this, it's the request for repairs, right? So let's say you have a buyer come through and say you accept the offer, but in the offer, they have stuff like, yeah, they want to get an inspection, inspect the roof. Let's make it like a very specific type of example. Say the only thing that they are concerned on checking with their inspection, most inspections, they're going to check everything, right? Kind of like at a base level to make sure everything's all good. Now let's pretend that you have a I don't know, a very old school giant chimney in your house, fireplace, and the buyer wants to make sure that that is all good, that there's no leaking from the roof from where the chimney's coming out, and that's all that they want to inspect. You're like, okay, cool, nice and easy. I don't got to worry about anything else. Great. Now, a lot of times, and it depends on what state that you're in, there might be documentation or certain provisions written in there of if there is something that needs to be repaired, because a lot of times the people who are going to request repairs to be done are the lenders, right? Especially if you're using if your buyer is using FHA or VA, and sometimes even conventional. Conventional is a lot more flexible, but FHA and VA for sure, and USDA, they're going to want certain fixes done. So, how much are you willing to pay towards that fix? If you don't properly read through your offer to purchase, you just might miss that. So let me show you an example again over here of where you might run into that. Alrighty, here we go. So right here, this is an additional form here in Wisconsin called the Addendum A. And it may be called something different in any state that you're in. But pretty much, I'm going to zoom in right here, and you can see repairs required by lender, right? I just mentioned that. So, who will be responsible for stuff? The first option, you got to strike one out. Buyer, if neither stricken, shall be responsible for obtaining estimates and making such repairs not to exceed a certain dollar amount. So most of the default is buyer, and the last one will be buyer. Look, I'm going to zoom in right here on line 141. Buyer and seller shall be equally responsible for the total cost of repairs not to exceed, and right here I just put $500 in this specific example on this purchase. So if you are not prepared, if you don't properly read that, what if the amount in there is $3,000? What if it's $5,000? Let's say it wasn't even the chimney that they were looking for. They were looking to inspect only the foundation. And it was bulging, there was cracking, and the foundation needed to be braced, right? Those companies all come in and put braces in the foundation so it doesn't cave in any further. Those can get very expensive. So now let's say that you guys are both equally responsible for up to $5,000 towards this fix. So right off the bat right there, at a minimum, $2,500 plus the 4% that you already agreed that you will pay to the buyer's agent. Now, have you actually saved any money? This is what I meant at the beginning, where it can get murky and things like that. So this begs the question, what documents are needed to make sure that none of this happens? So not just documents, but knowing what things you need to be aware of. So I actually have a checklist that I'm going to invite you to go ahead and download. It's completely for free, and it's going to be in the description below. You click on that link and it's going to take you to a spot where I have a bunch of other downloads as well, where it shows you, it's like a little cheat sheet, and it helps you navigate a lot of this paperwork and things like that, because these are common pitfalls that a lot of people fall for, and hopefully you do not become one of them. So I want to encourage you to make sure you go check that out. And if you need personalized help or anything like that, feel free to reach out to me, book a time to chat with me, and we can certainly go through that and help you out with your transaction. So I hope this video was helpful for you. If you know someone who's selling for sale by owner as well, make sure you send them this video if they're even thinking about it. That way they do not make these two mistakes as well. In the meantime, in between time, take it easy, guys.